All right, welcome back to ABA Exam Review and the continuation of our 6th edition BCBA task list series. Today we are starting at concepts and principles in B1, distinguish among behavior, response, and response class. Like a lot of things in our practice, when we are just discussing treatments or clients with stakeholders or technicians, behaviors and responses are often used interchangeably. We don't make a big distinction when just discussing them casually or at a session. But there is a difference, and you need to know the difference, especially for the exam. But not only for the exam, but for your assessments and your analysis. It's going to help you get a better idea of what is my behavior, and then how am I measuring each individual response. And then with response classes, those are our groups or sets of responses that are meeting the same function. So we're going to break down all three of those ideas as easy as possible and what you need to know for your exam. As always, be sure to subscribe if you aren't already. We put out 3 BCBA videos a week, including practice questions and practice exams. We also have RBT study materials. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. So, as a behavior analyst, it's important for assessments and treatment plan creation and progress analysis to distinguish between behaviors, responses, and response classes. We typically use behavior and response interchangeably in practice, but there's a difference. And as an analyst, it's important for you to know the difference. You need to know, what is my behavior? What am I targeting? How am I defining it? How can I define it so when each individual response happens, who's ever taking that data can reliably and accurately take that data over and over and over again. So the behavior is almost like the umbrella where the responses and the response classes live, because the response, as we're going to talk about, is just a single occurrence of that behavior. Now, the response classes help identify responses for change that are meeting the same function. If we have a behavior and each individual instance of behavior is a response, well, all those different responses can look different, but serve the same function. And so response classes help group those responses together so we can more accurately change what we want to in order to achieve our goals. Let's start with what a behavior is. Remember, we're at the very beginning of the task list, so these are our fundamentals. And without the fundamentals, the rest of the task list is much harder. So don't skip over the fundamentals. Focus on everything. Now, behavior is an organism interaction with the environment. In other words, that's what we study. That's what we're trying to predict and research and change, is how an organism interacts with the environment. So when we interact with the environment interacts back, and that's what causes behavior and behavior change. Now, of course, we are looking at human behavior, and that is everything people do, including how you move, what you say, what you think, and what you feel. Now, you might think, well, what you feel and what you think, those are internal. Well, both public and private events are behavior. You're going to start to see how the task list builds. We talked about radical behaviorism before, and now this is when it comes into play. Radical behaviorism says public and private events are behavior, and we treat both public and private events as such. So human behavior is what you do, what you say, how you move, what you think, and what you feel. Now, behavior is that umbrella under which responses and response classes operate. So, for example, walking through a grocery store to shop for items you need, that's a behavior. You're going grocery shopping. That's a broad idea of what a behavior is. Now, we're going to see next, a response is a single instance of that behavior. So if we jump right to our example, your behavior is grocery shopping. One response is you pick up a box of Cheerios from the store shelf. So your single response is picking up a box of Cheerios. That's one instance of behavior of shopping. Now you see why responses are so important. If I have a behavior that is going grocery shopping, well, that means a lot of things, right? That means driving to the store, getting a shopping cart, making a list, going through the aisles, finding what you need, talking to the clerk, checking out. All of those responses are part of the behavior of going shopping. So you can see how when you define the behavior and then get into the responses, you can very much narrow down what it is you're trying to target and change. And that's going to make it much easier to measure and observe what you are trying to change. So responses are the specific occurrence of the target behavior at the given moment. So at a given moment, we have a response. And responses are discrete. There's a clear beginning and a clear end. And we aren't necessarily measuring the behavior, we're measuring each response. When I'm taking frequency data, you might say you're measuring the behavior, but what you're really measuring is each response of that behavior. If we have a behavior of going grocery shopping, and I want to measure how many items I put in my cart, well, each time I put an item in a cart, that's a response that I'm taking frequency data on. I still have the behavior of grocery shopping, but now I've got individual responses I can measure. Then you have response classes. Now, this is what we're kind of talking about, where you can have a big behavior and then a response that is all meeting kind of the same function. So if we get straight to our example, you pick up the box of Cheerios. You can ask someone to grab the box for you, or you can knock the box into your cart. All three look different. All three have different topographies, but they all serve the same function. That's going to make them a part of a response class. So these responses are going to produce the same effect on the environment. Form and topography don't matter, right? Form and topography matter if you are trying to include it in a definition for a reason and you want to know what it looks like. But in terms of responses that function the same, form and topography are not important. So when you think about behavior change, changing one response in a response class may not impact the other responses. If you want your client to ask someone to grab the box for them to learn that skill, and you want them to stop knocking over the box into your cart, well, just teaching them asking to grab the box isn't necessarily going to affect this unless you provide more reinforcement for grabbing the box, differential reinforcement. And so with that example, hopefully you see what we're building towards, right? How we're actually going to start to change these behaviors and these individual responses in these response classes. So to summarize, behavior is our broad category that encompasses interactions with the environment. You're going grocery shopping. A response is a single instance of a behavior. You put an item into your cart. A response class includes multiple responses that achieve the same function. You put an item in your cart and you ask a clerk to help you find an item. You knock over an item into your cart. All three responses are going to get you that item. All right, that's B1, distinguish among behavior, response, and response class. Not complicated, not too difficult, but the fundamentals truly matter. So we've got to start with the fundamentals, and you've got to get these down first. Once again, please subscribe for all of our content. Check out behavioranalyststudy.com for all of our study materials. When you do pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.